Welcome on in, everybody. So, I had a few topics I wanted to talk about in today's video, but a lot of them have to do with the future of New World. The first big one I wanted to talk about is console. Now, they had mentioned that we would be seeing something like possibly aim assist in the future of New World. That opens up the question to, are we going to see a console launch for this game? Chances are, I think console is something that is coming in the future. They've been doing a lot of work with the code recently, just changing how things are calculated, and I do think part of that has to do with prepping for that console launch. Now, the aim assist, is it something that we're going to see in PvP, or will it only be allowed in PvE game modes? There is a lot of questions around this feature that they talked about, and I personally feel like aim assist would be really bad for PvP, at least on PC, because it would just give people an easy way to land their shots, and we already don't like aim bots in PvP. So for console, it's a little bit of a different story. With a game like this, you know, if you don't have that aim assist, it could be very hard for the average player to land their shots using a controller. So I don't really know what we're going to see here, but I really hope that the PC PvP gameplay, or at least the PvP scene we have now, isn't impacted a lot by the addition of those changes. Now, something that is a bit of a stretch, because we're already kind of assuming that we will see a console launch just by going down this train of thought, but if we do see a console launch, what is going to happen server-wise? Are we going to share servers with console players, or are there going to be PC-only and console-only servers? When I played ESO, we saw that console and PC were separated from each other, mega server-wise, so yeah, I'm curious if we'll have crossplay or not. I think that's something that could probably be a nice feature to have, just allowing people to play with their friends regardless of what system they're on. Now, I also wanted to talk about PvP, obviously, as a PvP player. Balance recently, the game's balance right now, it's not too terrible. I like that everything feels viable. That's a huge deal. However, we are in a very burst-heavy meta, and there are some huge culprits to the immense amounts of burst damage. Things like Fire Staff and Bow doing a ton of damage right now. Now, with Fire Staff, in regards to its damage, I think that the damage over time that it does is a huge reason why it feels like it does so much damage. So you have a little bit more time to respond from the incoming burst, but the Bow is hitting much harder than the Fire Staff can hit burst-wise. It just doesn't apply as many dots as Fire Staff can. That being said, Poison Arrow from the Bow hits super hard too, so I guess what I'm getting at is just saying that we have a lot of very high power ranged weapons right now, and they did talk about how they want to do something for light melee, and I think it's something that desperately needs to be done. Light melee is by far the weakest option at the moment. Now, with regards to armor weights and them changing heavy armor to be a 55 cost dodge roll, that is a very interesting change, and I'm not sure how this will impact heavy, because a lot of the times when I see heavy players, they're playing sword and shield, so they're using that block, or at least mace and shield, so they're at least using that block, and that's a big part of where their stamina consumption is going. It's going to be interesting to see how this impacts things like bruisers, because they will no longer be able to do the double dodge without gassing their stamina. That is a huge gameplay change that effectively neuters Heavy's ability to have the same amount of mobility as medium, and really slows them down compared to things like light armor. So yeah, this again is something where slowing down the heavy player would benefit the light ranged player, but at the same time, what are they going to do to give melee players an option? Maybe a damage bonus when you're in light armor, even more additional damage for your melee weapons, or even something like a movement speed bonus in light armor when you wield a melee weapon could be a good option to just allow them to have the counterplay and the ability to use their armor weight to its advantages in combat. But at least as it sits right now, heavy armor is definitely king when it comes to melee combat. You can just trade better than your opponents, and medium armor doesn't offer as much protection as heavy does. So yeah, it's interesting to see them make that change. I'm very curious to see how it will turn out. The one big plus I can see from it is maybe no more running hardy on heavy armor. It's just not required because it doesn't really help you anymore. Something to think about. And the last topic that I wanted to cover today is the lack of content between now and May. I know we're not getting a lot of content between then and now, but we are going to see some changes to PvP balance, which is always nice for the PvP crowd. I feel like when they make those kind of changes, it's great for PvP because it just gets people into the game trying stuff that has been changed or buffed, etc. That being said, you know, I feel like a lot of people are feeling that content drought. Personally, my opinion on it, it's whatever. I'm not done all the content in the game, so I've still got lots of stuff to do myself, but you know, I understand that people are always looking for that next new thing, and the game not giving us new content for so long is definitely not a plus for it. When we do get that new content, I would love to see something for PvP. We've been screaming for a long time to see a new OPR map, and you know, I just don't know when we're going to see it. I just don't know. I know that the big issue they talked about balance-wise with PvP was systemic. The fact that we have an OPR map that really benefits ranged gameplay versus melee gameplay is a huge reason why range feels so good in this particular game mode, including things like open world. You know, in the smaller scale, the ranged gameplay does so well because you have so much space to hit your targets with. So yeah, I would love to see a new OPR map, or at least the existing one reworked to have a little bit more cover. Anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think about what we're seeing in this game. A big thank you to Hen for doing this fight with me here. A nice little 2vx, so well played, man. And of course, if you want to catch me live, there's a link to my Twitch down below. You can send in your clips for the New World Top 5 to Kristofer at pvpnewworld.com. We are sponsored by ExpressVPN, and last but not least, a massive thank you to all of my patrons on Patreon for supporting the show. Thank you guys for watching. As always, I would love to hear your thoughts on the future of New World at the moment, especially things regarding console launch and the new PvP maps. These are very interesting for me. I might even buy a console to play on the console launch if that's what we get. And a little bit more to the end of this fight. I'll just let you guys enjoy it in silence. How about that? Have a good one, everybody. Thank you again for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time.